Hello friend. I want to tell you about the BMW F10 car. BMW designed a successor after the rather controversial stylistically, but very modern 5 Series with the factory designation E60 without any controversy in the style. The bar was raised again in the field of technology and active safety. However, the designation was changed to F10, F11 Estate, which indicated a real breakthrough and a completely new model line. Is the latest BMW 5 Series a successful car and still a real BMW? The car is equipped with modern devices and systems, such as adaptive suspension, LED lighting, thermal imaging system, improved iDrive system, energy recuperation system, pneumatic suspension, rear axle steering, efficient engines, new automatic transmission with 8 gears, and a hybrid version was also created. There was no shortage of driving assistance, which support the driver during use while increasing the level of safety. The car was presented in 2009, and interestingly, the body design was handled by the Pole Jacek Frolik. Sales started in 2010, and a year later the sports version M5 debuted. In 2013, a facelift and equipment addition took place. The car is still sold in 3 body versions: sedan, station wagon and hatchback, called GT. Technical twins are of course the BMW 6 Series. Interestingly, BMW has abandoned the aluminum body panels used in its predecessor. In terms of design, it is a traditional BMW with a longitudinally placed engine driving the rear axle or all-wheels, X-drive versions. Engines. There are countless engine versions available for the BMW F10, F11. The range includes 2 and 3-liter petrol engines with or without turbo, as well as V8 units and 2 and 3-liter diesels. It is worth mentioning that the model designations do not say much about the engine version. For example, the 528i has a 2-liter turbo engine, while the 523i version has a naturally aspirated 6-cylinder. All petrol engines have direct injection and reach power from 184 horsepower, 520i, to 407 horsepower, 550i, leaving out the BMW M5 with an engine of 560 horsepower. The diesels, on the other hand, have a power range from 184 hydrogen phosphide, 520d, to 313 hydrogen phosphide, 535d, omitting the M550D version with a 381 HP engine. The diesels are the N47 and N57 family engines known from earlier BMW cars. We will only deal with the N57 engine used in the 525D, 530D and 535D versions. What's broken? It is usually difficult to talk about any failures in such young cars, because they still have small mileage, and sporadic defects can hardly be called typical failures for a given model. Therefore, this chapter, if it concerns young cars, usually does not contain too much information. However, we decided to deal with the BMW 5 Series F10, F11 for 3 reasons. Firstly, because of several letters from readers who asked for a closer look at this model. Secondly, because 3 to 4-year-old cars have high mileage and it is easy to determine what is a typical failure and what is an isolated case. Thirdly, and this is the worst, in the case of this model there is something to write about. Because for such a young car, the new 5 Series is exceptionally prone to failures and problems. At this point I would like to point out that the description concerns cars before the facelift. Service campaigns are of course nothing new, both in brands that are generally considered cheap and those that sell luxury cars. There were also service campaigns for the BMW F10, F11, which many believe were built too quickly, in a hurry. The campaigns concerned replacing the water pump in 3-liter diesels, as well as the sensor for the active pedestrian protection system and front and side windows. However, contrary to appearances, BMW service points have much more work. Not all service campaigns are officially announced, but authorized services fulfill their obligations to the best of their abilities. An example would be the replacement of a faulty rear steering axle. It is also not a problem to replace the software controlling the ZF8 HP automatic transmissions, which can both jerk and completely refuse to obey. It is worth taking care of them by changing the oil regularly, because it can even lead to mechanical failure of the transmission. You should also remember to change the oil in additional transmissions, especially in the X-Drive version. However, this is only the beginning. The suspension system is also not without its problems. Although the guiding and damping elements themselves are durable, the active steering system can cause problems. The problem of pulling to one side is known among users of this model. Service centers usually replace the software, but this does not always help. Sometimes the entire rear suspension is replaced. Fortunately, the self-leveling system in the Touring and GT versions is not particularly problematic, although there are few such cars and perhaps something will come of it in time. Mechanical problems are admittedly troublesome and expensive to repair, although thanks to the manufacturer's warranty, many of them have been eliminated in authorized service centers. But that's not all. The quality of assembly and materials, which we often rate very highly in tests, shows its true face after years. In the BMW 5 Series, you don't have to wait too long for this. Even in several-year-old models, crackles and knocks appear from interior trim elements, including the suspension, and the durability of leather upholstery in some cars is so low that many users question whether the leather in BMW is really real leather. Another issue is the quickly deteriorating chrome elements made of plastic, e.g. the grille, and the falling off decorative strips on the door sills. Problems are exacerbated in winter, when the washer jets or the central locking system stop working. Speaking of locks, users are no strangers to the problem of closing doors, which simply have to be slammed shut like in old cars from the 80s. In winter, batteries also occasionally discharge for no reason. The air conditioning system is not without its faults either. Condensers break down, and the ventilation fans can work quite loudly. The cause of noise while driving is also the factory run-flat tires, which users successfully replace with classic ones. Occasionally, the culprit is the rear axle, which was defective in a certain production batch. This defect is easy to recognize by the characteristic roar after releasing the gas pedal. However, we will not hear it when the automatic transmission goes into sailing mode. The N57 engine, or 6-cylinder, 3-liter BMW diesel, is a design that has been significantly modified compared to the older M57. Although the engines differ in many ways, unlike the 2-liter diesel, the changes have not been to the detriment of users. It is still a durable and almost trouble-free engine. As in the smaller N47, the timing chain has been moved to the clutch side, making its maintenance very expensive, but there are currently no problems with it. If they do appear, we advise you to first visit an authorized service center and check whether BMW has ordered a repair campaign. In the N47 engine, the timing belt can be replaced for free, selected models, but only once. Unfortunately, the 3-liter diesel generates a powerful torque of 450 Nm and up, so the gearboxes are seriously exposed to overloads, sometimes replaced in service. The only problem for the owner of the 525D, 530D and 535D versions may be the exhaust gas cleaning system, which requires topping up with AdBlue. It is worth keeping an eye on this. To sum up, the only reliable component in the new BMW 5 Series with a 3-liter diesel is the engine. The car's failure rate is terrifying, and the repair costs are fortunately covered in whole or in part by authorized services for now, because the car is relatively young and the authorized service center admits to many mishaps. However, there are dissatisfied customers, because mechanics at ASO often end up changing the software, counting on the fact that the customer will not come back. There are people who have already had their gearboxes, axles and windows replaced, which should not happen in such a young car. Another thing is that owners who do not have problems with their car simply do not write on forums and do not complain, enjoying the fantastic technology, powerful engines and brilliant suspension. We believe that there are most of them, but despite this, the BMW F10 F11 is a high-risk car. It probably won't surprise anyone that original parts for this model are very expensive. It's no different with replacements, of which there aren't many on the market. However, you can be positively surprised by the low prices of selected replacements. See table. It is easy to get basically all the consumable suspension and brake system components. Manufacturers of replacements have already developed front upper wishbones with replaceable pins. Is it worth it? Yes, provided that the car is from the first owner, still under warranty and regularly serviced. It is worth checking how many repairs are listed in the service book. Contrary to appearances, buying a car with low mileage can be more risky than one with higher mileage. With higher mileage, the faults described here have either already been repaired or we are dealing with a car without major faults, because there are plenty of them. If the car has had several owners, you can suspect that something is wrong with it. You absolutely must visit an authorized service center before buying, or at least a specialized workshop, preferably outside the owner's place of residence. You should be extremely careful and distrustful. The car is great, but the risk remains huge. We generally advise against buying a used BMW F10, F11 from the first years, as it is the cars from 2010-2011 that struggle with the most problems. A better choice would be a well-maintained BMW E60 from the end of production. Thanks for listening to me. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and rate my video. If you know of any problems with this car that I haven't mentioned, be sure to write about them in the comments.
I have good news for you. Now, if you are planning to buy a used car, or learn more about your car, you no longer need to search for the information you need on the internet. We have collected everything in one place for you, on the website carme.pro. Here you can find out everything about the car, what brakes and at what mileage, any problems with engines, chassis or gearboxes, which trim levels are better not to mess with, and how not to lose money buying a used car. You will learn all this on carme.pro.